Welcome one and all to the world of tomorrow. 'Tis I, the reincarnation of Edgar Allan Poe. The guy that wrote The Raven, the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode. Yeah, there you go. I've undergone a few changes in the process. You can see the beard's a bit bigger. I'm also now from the northwest of England. Go figure. To all those of you thinking about heading for the doors, don't worry, this was planned. I have done it once before. I'd like to introduce you to this ominous bird of yore. She's looking a little long in the beak these days, for sure, but she can still unleash a pretty severe nevermore. In her prime, all who gazed upon her experienced abject terror, which is why I call her Connie, short for console error. We've been asked to welcome you all on a fairly informal basis to what I'm told is the location of a book of faces. Now, that's the sort of eldritch, twisted poetry that really floats my steamboat. I could hardly turn the gig down. I mean, this is sort of the keynote. Transport here was an issue, though, to tell you the truth. The congestion charge for airships has gone through the pissing roof. So now, if I may be so bold as to ask that you all give due diligence to the following task. Sit in silent bemusement through this one-man tirade, and someone shovel some more coal into the projector if it starts to fade. Don't expect too much as well, I'm not getting paid. For the tale that your eyes and ears will now be receiving is entitled, A Brief History of Overachieving. Let me transport your minds back to the dawn of time, to a young earth cloaked in primordial slime, where, if legend is to be believed, 2 bits of ooze in a momentary reprieve from the arduous task of synchronized oozing took the opportunity for some high-concept schmoozing. As one said, I have a strong feeling that JavaScript's going to be really confusing. The other just thought talking slime was highly amusing. Now, you have to admit, that's rather perceptive. These guys were clearly tech lead material, had that been their objective. Apocryphal or not, it was the first intimation of beings with ideas above their station, that drive to push envelopes and think outside the box. It would set a precedent that echoed down through the epochs. Life moves swiftly on from anthropomorphic DNA strands. Or did it? And soon, animals were crawling out onto the land. With the now reduced risk of watery surprises, a few of them unwittingly realized the potential for electronic devices, though they were understandably wary of premium prices, being as there was still something of an energy crisis. With the rise of the dinosaurs came exciting new ideas, solving problems that had hampered other creatures for years, hunting for prey by forming agile teams, and philosophizing raptors in the first ever memes. What they failed at, sadly, which to this day still perplexes, was marketing a range of peripherals designed solely for T-Rexes, meaning that they just couldn't quite aim those planetary defenses. That's my favorite bit. At the same time, mammals had been getting in on the act, just generally being fluffy and cute and that. Sadly, the murderous antics of saber-toothed kitties went unrecorded, which is a bit of a pity, because we're talking Netflix and kill here. Ancient YouTube would have been gritty. Finally, monkeys arrived, and they broke all the rules as they started using bones and rocks as crude tools. Some got up on 2 legs, raised their heads in the air, and one exclaimed, "Ooh, can anybody knock me up an ergonomic chair?" So now it gets much less interesting from here as the first of the humans start to appear. I'll jump on a bit, or we'll be here all night, to Benjamin Franklin flying a kite in an electrical storm. Doesn't seem that bright. But he's a celebrity now, so kids must be all right. Then, Thomas Edison, the angular of current. Yeah, I went there. I promised I wouldn't. Genuinely, though, what was his actual deal? I mean, I'm a horror guy, but some of that electrocution stuff was just a bit too real. Meanwhile, Tesla, what a legend. He was building a tower to give the whole world wireless power. And not only that, but to give it for free. I wish someone would tell that to those money grabbers at EE. For a fair old while after that, not much really went on. CFAX was pretty good, then it was gone. I've still not got over it. Absolute travesty. Yeah, a fella named Tim Berners-Lee, who I'm reliably informed is some kind of man spider, spread his web far and wide, ever farther and ever wider, till the whole world was wondering, whatever next? Will we ever be rid of marquee text? Will these browsers ever run our terrible code? And will this HD torrent of the Matrix ever download? Things started picking up speed as the JS movement gradually became a stampede. It was a pretty crazy time to be alive, even in the bad old days of jQuery and ES5. But the stage was set for something special to arrive. And so this meandering story draws to a climactic end. For in 2011, the world truly changed, my friends. As some real overachievers, those crafty Facebookers, under the watchful eye of our old friend Zuckers, built a new framework and gave it to all of you people. I like to think Tesla would have seen them as his modern equals. What's followed is a swashbuckling tale of reconciliation, promises, suspense, and betrayal. A story to define its age, all written on a single page, born of a single-minded desire to push UX performance higher. And if you're here tonight, you too have that fire. I realize I've broken character now. I'm just a dev dressed as a weird vampire. Still, Elon loves a trier. Denizens of Devland, townspeople of tech, hear now my decree, forthright and direct. It is your sacred duty to keep doing better, while still, of course, following lint rules to the letter. With your laptops, your weapons against online tedium, you are artists, auteurs, with React as your medium. And together you can help this new community rise. So let's fire up the engines and take to the skies. For only through you can the web be enhanced. Thanks for listening. This is React Advanced.
All right. Thanks a lot, David, for helping out with launching it in an unusual manner. I've really been thinking how to make it not as boring as me just going on a stage instead of him. You can guess the difference. And just talking boring stuff about 15 minutes. But I'll make my part really short. I still need to say some words just to share some motivation and just let you know who am I and what I'm doing here. So my name is Robert. Quite a bunch of you know me and have been messaging me on Medium to ask to the waitlist. I did all I could, but next time, please also don't turn off the email notifications. They are really important. So I'm working here in London as an engineering manager at Hostmaker. If you've been here in the last React London meetup from Red Badger, my colleague been speaking here as well. And apart from that, in the nights and weekends, I'm a tech event work at the Git Nation. So that's a small group of people, including me and 4 or 5 others, doing React Amsterdam, React Day Berlin. I've been putting stickers around here, and GS Nation conferences. And we try to make it different. I won't be explaining what and how we are, but just one thing you need to remember is that we try to make our events slightly different, more entertaining, and mix education with some fun experience, as you basically saw last 10 minutes. So you see actually David as well doing similar style presentation at Horror Stories. There's a video recording on YouTube as well. Really nicely done. He did it with his colleague from AutoTrader. We draw custom avatars for speakers. We play water guns in summer. And yeah, we generally try to create some custom vibes. And next to conferences, we've been organizing a lot of meetups. So I just came since May to London. I've been living in Amsterdam before, so that's where we started all the Something Amsterdam events. And when I came here, I thought that, yeah, there's already a lot of event groups, and there's probably no space for other. But the more I've been gathering feedback and thinking how we can make it differently, we thought, why not try and make the format, refresh the meetup format, so people can gain trust back to meetups and start visiting them actually, and not just thinking that they won't learn there anything. So the main idea of React Advanced is to prepare the audience for these speeches. So we've been asking speakers to send us some materials that we then send through the mailing list. So people could read a bit on the topic, and then so speakers could have more possibility to jump straight into more details and more expose their topics, which is not always possible in general topic meetups, as you need to cater for mix of audience with unprepared, with both unprepared and prepared on the topic. And yeah, we'll continue mixing some fun and entertainment. It will be always a surprise. We will never announce it before unless you're speaking. So please also submit your talks. We really will need speakers. And yeah, we'll most likely won't do it monthly. It's really hard to prepare like slightly more prepared events on a monthly basis. It's still like a side thing for which I don't get paid. But quarterly, for sure, we'll be trying to run that. And that's basically it from my side on the intro. Follow React Advance. At the very end, we'll go to the pop at 9:30. I'll also share the link to that pop and the location through Twitter. Super easy Twitter handle. We also have a hashtag, the same React Advance with a hashtag. And just one more surprise before we jump into talks. We have one of the first people who presented us React from the stages of other conferences. And I hope you'll enjoy the surprise as well. So can we get our guest over here? All right.
Hey everyone, my name is Christopher Chedeau, and I'm known as Visual on the internet. And so I've been working on so I basically discovered React like many years ago when after I joined Facebook. And this was like almost like unknown project even at Facebook. And when I like tried it for the first time, I was like hooked. I was like, okay, this is going to be like the best thing in the world. Like I want like everybody to know about it. And so I started like getting people excited about React inside of Facebook. And then we all worked on open sourcing React. And then at some point, so we open sourced, and one thing I didn't expect is that the reaction when we open sourced it was basically that the theme was, okay, there's Angular, there's Ember, and now there's React. And we're going to put like all of them into a den, and we're going to like watch them fight. And to me, like this was insane. Because when you think about it, like the reason why I was so excited about React is because there's like some genuinely like new ideas, and I wanted like to help like the world like and all of the software engineering like movement to like start becoming better. And so now if you think about it, like if you set the context where like you're just going to like watch all of those like projects like fight against each other, like nothing is going to come good out of it. And so this reminds me of a parallel with when I joined Facebook. So one thing I was expecting was that everybody would be like very good, very passionate, like wanted to change the world, like have like really high expectation and like wanted to do like big things. And I had this mental picture of like Wall Street that's been depicted in the movies, where like the only way to get better is basically to steal deals from like your other coworkers. And so this is like a zero-sum game where like the only way to win is to get like others down. And so I joined Facebook with like this expectation. And one thing I realized is that this didn't happen. And I saw like people like work together and like really help each other. And one thing I thought about it a lot. And one of the reasons I think that the Facebook management decided to do that is because when you're building a project, a tech project, if you want it to be big, then you need to have a lot of people contributing. And so what the Facebook management like was looking for is people that were able to inspire, that were able to like get other people to work with them on something. And so now going back to React and the open source, like I saw this situation where like everybody was like basically like putting everyone against each other. And I saw this when people were starting to come into the React IRC. And like the first thing they would say is, oh my God, like React is the best thing in the world. Like this is awesome. But like Angular sucks, or like Ember sucks, or like whatever framework they've been using before like really sucks. Now I'm going to like start using React, and they converted somehow to React and they wanted to use it. And so when I look at this, I was like, this is not set up for success. And so instead, what I did was trying to get them to, and I just asked them like a simple question. Okay, so what do you miss from Angular, from Ember, from like all of those other like projects when you're building some React, something in React? And React was only open source. There was not a lot of things, so there must have been things that they missed. And then when just asking that question, then they gave me a list of like 10 different things, 20 different things. Like they had a lot of things to say. And what was interesting is like just changing like the framing. Now this was a lot more productive because now there were like 10 concrete things that they said like what's better in Angular than in React. And so now from the React team perspective, we could say, okay, yeah, now we have a good idea of like what people are missing and we can figure out like how to actually implement it within the scope of React. And so the other interesting that happened is not only like did this exercise like help us React like learn about like the other projects and to make React better, but then all of the people coming on the React IRC, they had a lot of connections in the other projects. And so what happened is that they actually went back to their project and asked the same question and said like, oh, look at all of those 10 things that are better in React. How can we bring them back to Angular? How can we bring them back to Ember? How can we bring them back to Marionette or all of this? And so one thing that happened, which is like was super exciting to me at the time, was we basically like raised the bar. Because now, instead of having like framework and like a project like fight against each other, like everybody was like bringing new ideas and we're collaborating on ideas. And we basically like make the entire like library front better. And the other thing that happened is that React like is awesome and everything, but is really like just a tiny like library and has been designed to be that way. But one of the first things that was interesting is in order to use React, you basically have to use JSX. So we've done a lot of things to like, you don't have to, but like in practice, like people use JSX with React. And so one of the interesting aspects of this is if you're using JSX, you basically have to have a transpiler in your toolchain, in your build toolchain. And so you basically had to have a build toolchain, whereas many projects before didn't. And so now there was a market for having a build toolchain. And one of the products that emerged was Babel. And Babel brought a build toolchain for JSX, but they also brought like all of the ES6 features that we're now like used to. And so if you adopted React, you also adopted Babel. And since you're using JSX, might as well like get like all of the ES6 features like for free. And so now not only like people like bought into React, but they also bought into Babel, the toolchain. And now that you have a transpiling toolchain, like might as well like start bundling things together. And so now like Webpack started becoming like super popular. And so now you can see like how like React is just a library, but once people like starting to want to adopt React, they started adopting like a lot more tools. And ESLint is another example. And then we're seeing like types, like type JavaScript with like TypeScript and Flow. And we're seeing like unit testing with JS and Ava. And we're seeing like things around data, like Redux, Relay, GraphQL, Falcor, like all of those projects. And so one thing that's that I really enjoyed about like the React community is that it was not only about React, but it was also like about all of the JavaScript ecosystem. And because now we were in a mode where like people were willing to talk to each other and like collaborate, and now it like did a spark to like light up like a big movement around like how can we make the entire front end space better. And this is something like I'm really passionate about. I really like how this whole movement like went on. And one of the interesting thing when I looked at this event is that look at the talks. There's one talk about like type systems. There's one talk about package manager. There's one talk about testing framework. There's one talk about like programming language features. None of them have anything to do with React, but React has been the catalyst of all of this movement. And I'm so excited to see like all of you here in this room, like able to like take those pieces and like bring the movement like farther and farther so that all of us can like improve and we can like make software development like a lot more enjoyable. and a lot better than it is today. And I'm pretty sure that all of you in the room right now are going to make much better progress on all of those things. So I'm so thankful for all of you, and I really hope you enjoy the day today. So thank you.